Kpop Demon Hunters was not a film I thought I would like. Before it was everywhere, I passed on it so many times browsing Netflix with that search engine optimized title, not even giving it a second glance. It wasn't until I had trouble sleeping one night and started doom scrolling on TikTok when I came across this clip. That night at 2 a.m., I stayed up to watch the whole movie. And while I enjoyed it, it was, without an exaggeration, the cat that made the movie for me. And after learning about the origins of the cat and the bird, I realized that Kpop Demon Hunters is a much more influential film than I ever thought it would be. But before I get into that, there were other things that I liked about the movie, including, plot. The plot of Kpop Demon Hunters is straightforward. A famous girl group is tasked with fighting demons and making music. It turns out, though, that the lead singer is part demon and complications arise until they don't anymore and they live happily ever after. Also cue demon boy band love interest, power of sacrifice, and power of friendship. It's a simple story with a strong moral behind it, that hate begets more hate, and to learn to accept all of you and not just parts of you. And then there's the animation. I really liked the animation. Cartoons are usually made at a frame rate of 24 frames per second, with each drawing holding for 1 or 2 frames. For Kpop Demon Hunters though, it seems to be blending different methods of animation, like holding onto frames longer like in stop motion, say 3 or 4 frames. By the by, concerning the music, all the songs were very catchy, and I'm 100% positive, in fact I am 200% positive it helped carry the film to its current popularity, but YouTube will sink me into the shadow realm if I actually played it here. But let's see if I can get away with playing something. That was great. Also, these two songs have the same energy. If you know, you know. And last but not least, the character design. From the over-the-top anime-esque facial expressions to the use of shape design to convey the characters' personalities, the designs made me enjoy the movie a whole lot more. And then there's the cat. Like I said, the derpy blue tiger is the reason why I watched the movie in the first place. It only has about 3 minutes of screen time, but it became one of my favorite characters. He's hardly that important to the plot, but his funny face and his funny mannerisms and his funny little hat story is what makes him so memorable.
I made it for the tiger, but the bird keeps taking it.
And I think that was on purpose. I think the creator wanted this silly little cat to get this much attention because it's not just some silly little cat, but one that is deeply ingrained in Korean folklore. The tiger, specifically the Siberian tiger, is the national animal of Korea. A symbol of strength and power, the tiger is a common reoccurring character in minhwa, or Korean folk art, often accompanied by a bird.
So this is a reference from 호작도 right here. This is a type of painting that's called minhwa, which means people's painting, because around 1600s, this was the style of the people. The tiger is portrayed as, quite literally, derpy, and the magpie is up on the pine tree just looking down like, because this is a satire. It's drawn by the people, and the tiger is people with authority, people with power. And also the hat that the bird wears, it symbolizes nobility, and it was for the tiger, the authority, but the bird keeps taking it.
What is most important about all of this is that I didn't know any of it. I know absolutely nothing about Korean folklore or mythology, but because of this family film about K-pop stars fighting demons, I learned something new. This is why the cat is my favorite thing about the movie, because it introduced me to a piece of culture that I otherwise may not have known about. To me, this is the beauty of entertainment, to convey culture through stories in a way that the audience wants to learn more about something, that can bring us closer and even find similarities amongst our own cultures, like how Gonji in Squid Game is very eerily similar to the Jax game my mother and aunt played as little girls in the Caribbean. On my second watch of Kpop Demon Hunters, when I was a bit more awake, I took note of the water demons in the bathhouse scene and learned that they're called
물귀신
and are lonely, solitary spirits trapped in limbo and lure the living through cries of anguish to a watery grave. Doesn't that sound like another water-specific spirit in Latin American folklore that also drowns her victims? Korean architecture and Korean cuisine are very present throughout the film. What I love is how subtle the inclusion of the folklore was because it intrigues you and maybe even makes you ask questions about those things. I mean, it certainly did for me, and I sought out those answers. Do I think Demon Hunters is perfect because of this? No. For one, that title is awful, and I stand by that. I also wasn't really satisfied with how the movie ended, and I really didn't like how Rumi left things with her mom. She still saw the demon side of Rumi as a mistake, and possibly cutting ties with her. Which, speaking of, the biggest unanswered question in the movie, who was Rumi's father? How did him and her biological mother meet? That by itself is a perfect setup for a sequel. And as for Jinu's fate, this may be an unpopular opinion for the J&R shippers out there, but I'm fine with the way things turned out for him. I mean, after all, he did leave his mother and sister in the slums to starve to death while he lived in the palace stuffing his face. Him ending up with Rumi and having a happy ending would not be proper justice to the family he wronged. The plot twist of him actually being such a selfish person surprised me. And by proper justice, I don't mean Jinu dying, but his act of selflessness at the end brought back his humanity and hopefully, in their eyes, the son and the big brother his family lost so long ago. It was the best redemption that he could have had, in my opinion. To make learning culture fun and approachable and not a school lesson or a therapy session is a feat of its own, especially nowadays. I'm sure I missed a lot of other symbolism and maybe some other aspects of Korean culture in the movie, but that just means I have more opportunities to learn something. For this reason alone, I think Kpop Demon Hunters should have a sequel, or even more so, a series. You could have a Monster of the Week format where they explore a new mythological creature or folktale, kind of like how Netflix Trece did with Filipino folklore. I have a soft spot for media that explores culture and brings folktales to the forefront so everyone can enjoy them. I hope with all this success, Sony decides to expand the story at least for a little while longer, or perhaps take even more gambles on other creators to bring in original stories that celebrate folk tales and legends and mythologies from lesser known cultures, because I think the general audience is starved for that in a time of endless sequels and remakes. Something original and meaningful. You hear that, Disney? Pixar? How about you stop being shit? Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm curious, did you learn something new about Korean folklore from this movie? What about from this video? Was there anything that you found relatable to the Korean tales in your culture? Leave your answers down in the comments. I'm curious to know. But thank you again for watching. And until next time, bye. Little post edit here, but I was watching it again and this song also has the same energy as this song. If you know, you know.